I'm Janet Beylin, speaking to you from Cranbrook Institute of Science, and I wanted to talk to you about some of my favorite creatures, cockroaches. So, I know that most of you are going, ooh, cockroaches, no, 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 this is terrible, but most of you then would be thinking about this kind right over here. Not very imaginatively named, the North American cockroach. So these guys have wings, so they fly, they jump, they run really fast, and sometimes they turn up in our houses and businesses, and that's just kind of creepy. But there are over 800 different kinds of cockroaches, and only a handful of them have any contact with people at all. So what I'm pulling out over here are some of our Madagascar hissing cockroaches. Okay, one of the other interesting things about cockroaches is how different they are, how very diverse in body styles and all kinds of other things as well. If we have a look at these guys right here, then you can see that they don't have wings. They're not flying or leaping or running or really doing much of anything except kind of hanging out in a buggy kind of way. We have some hanging out on the top. We also have some hanging out just as comfortably on the bottom. All right, so because they are insects, okay, I know you don't like this. We're just going to deal, okay? Because they are insects, if we have a look here, yes, I know you're not thrilled, but you'll get over it, okay? We can have a look here. We can see there are 3 different body parts. We have a little tiny head. We have that middle section, which is called the thorax. And then that big fat section down at the bottom, that's the abdomen. They also have 2 antennae, 1 antenna, 2 antennae, okay? And an exoskeleton. So, and 6 legs. If we look a little bit more closely at the legs, then you can see that on the very ends, they have hooks, and that's how they're very easily able to hang on to the bottom of things, walk across our ceilings. They also have little suction cup parts as well, so they have no issues at all going more or less wherever they want to go. Okay, so they're called Madagascar hissing cockroaches because because they like to hiss. Come here. Okay. And so if we have a look at these little dots on the outside or the brownish part over there, those are called spiracles. They can breathe through there, and also when they're hissing, then that's where the air is going to come out. So, I don't know if we are going to have cooperation with this one, so we're going to do possibly plan B. Okay, come on. So if we have a look at this one right over here, can we see him pretty well? Okay. Oh, did you hear a hiss there? All right, a little bit of a hiss there. So if we look at this one, he's a male. And you notice here, if you didn't know that the head was underneath, you would think that these might be the eyes right here. You see how they sort of stick out a little bit? Okay. These are actually kind of a little bit like kind of tiny horns. This is a male. If we go back to the other one that I was holding a moment ago, okay, we can see that she doesn't have those pointy parts right over there. See how she just has little tiny nubs instead? Okay, that's how we know that she is a female. Alrighty, so be enough on these guys over here. So Madagascar hissing cockroaches are most likely, if you've seen bugs in programs or on TV or something else like that, most likely they are the Madagascars because they're pretty slow moving, they're big, they're impressive looking, and they don't do a whole lot, which makes it really good for our purposes. So, something else that all insects have is they have an exoskeleton. Our skeleton's on the inside, all the hard parts are on the inside, soft parts are on the outside, and when we're growing, we almost don't feel like we are growing. But let's think for a second about our shoes. Do your shoes grow along with our feet? And of course the answer to that is no. So if they don't do that, every so often what do we need to do? Take off those shoes that are a little bit too small and get bigger ones. Well, If you're an insect with an exoskeleton, then you have a bit of a different situation. Here you are trying to grow and get bigger, and yet your outside part doesn't stretch and grow with you. What that means is every so often you need to molt, you need to shed your skin. In this picture here, you can see this one bursting out of this old exoskeleton right over here. And this one is, when they first come out, they are bright white. What's going on with that? So think about this. If we need to have another exoskeleton that's going to be hard, and it has to be bigger than the exoskeleton that it's coming out of, there's going to have to be something going on here. That's what's happening here. So when they come on out, then this is the new exoskeleton that's white, and it's going to stretch out, and it'll be quite a bit more elastic, stretch out to the new size gradually over the next few hours. Then they will harden and darken 5 or 6 hours, and this one would look just about like everybody else. So right over here I have a couple of shed exoskeletons, and if we have a look on the bottom here, you can see all the details. This is the outside part of that bug until quite recently. Sort of an interesting kind of concept here. And we see these things that look sort of like stringy, that helps to kind of hold the exoskeleton in place while they're climbing out. And this morning, I had one that had just shed their, just molted. So the kind we're going to look at in a moment, these are called cave cockroaches. Okay, well, let's not get out. Okay, can we see from there? Mm-hmm. Alrighty. So this one, okay, darkening up quite a bit here. This one was bright white this morning. Let's not go anywhere else though. Thank you. Okay. So here are some more of those cave roaches over here. These are actually a whole bunch of fun. When you look in, you see quite a few of them, but there's actually a lot more that are living under the substrate, and we will try feeding them in just a couple of minutes. Actually then, let's go ahead and talk about a couple other varieties that we have over here. Okay. So in here, mostly hiding now. So from India, we have Domino roaches, okay? And they are beetle mimic roaches. So they look a whole lot like cute little beetles, okay? There's a nymph right over there. And they're also really, really good at escaping, so I'm gonna make sure that I put the top on tightly right over here. On the fatter category over here, okay, this is a peppered roach here, and we can just see how much more of a really fat, wide, heavy body type we have over here. Okay. So again, these guys have wings, same as the others. They don't seem to use them very much. And the last ones, they are really not very useful and helpful right at the moment. These are called Shenandoah cave roaches. So the story behind them is they came from a single cave in Africa, but they were discovered when miners went in and they decided to mine the cave for bauxite. Part of the mining process was going to absolutely destroy the cave, and so the little cockroaches that lived there, they were found nowhere else in the entire world. And so collectors went in, managed to salvage some of the colony there, and so these guys exist now only in institutions and hobbyist homes and things like that. They're called extinct in the wild cockroaches because they are. So I just have little babies here, and they are all cockroach babies, are not very interesting. Just little brown runny things. There we go. Okay. But I'm excited to have them grow up, and they're going to be a lot prettier when they're grown. And I like the fact that we're doing something to help a species that would be otherwise facing extinction. All right, last thing we're going to do, we're going to go back to our cave cockroaches over here. So we're gonna try feeding them a little bit. So these guys are very, very fond of Cheerios. I'm gonna just take a couple handfuls here and spread them around the front, see if anybody's hungry. They're cockroaches, so usually they're hungry, but you never can count on anything. Okay. They're also very much nocturnal, so sometimes it takes them a little while to figure out that there's food going on and that they should wake up and do something about it. Okay. When you first look in here, then you might say, wow, it looks like there's two different kinds. So the adults have wings. They're like this kind right over here. Okay. And I don't take them out because they are very quick movers. And then this one right over here, this is a nymph stage. This is the juvenile stage. So they only get their wings when they finally make it to adulthood. The vast majority of their time is spent in that nymph stage. They start out tiny, 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 gradually shedding, molting, and getting bigger and bigger and bigger over time. Alrighty, so we're beginning to have a little bit of interest here. What's interesting is that most of the time the nymphs live down in the substrate. So when they're hungry, then it just seems like they're just coming up out of the ground, and sometimes they'll fight for them, wrestle for them, be pretty entertaining, and it looks like everyone's being a little bit sleepy today. Alrighty. So just one kind of thing here to say, whether you like cockroaches or you don't like cockroaches, you have got to be impressed with their versatility and their adaptability. Cockroaches have been around since before dinosaurs. They can withstand about 10 times the amount of radiation that a person can. So if we start chucking bombs at each other, we're going to be in a lot of trouble. The cockroach is probably pretty much okay. It is true that they can be underwater for 30 minutes and they don't drown. And yes, scary but true, they can live without their head for about 2 weeks. So anyway, very interesting, pretty cool little creatures. I think they should get a little bit more love than they tend to from people. Thank you so much for joining me today. Take care.